The one thing we're seeing more than ever is kids' chronic sickness lasting longer and being harder to kick than ever before. The congestion, the drainage, the coughs, the fevers, the sleepless nights, we see so much of it right now, and it seems to be worse than ever before. And the coughs can be the worst, as they often come on after the congestion is cleared, they disrupt sleep, and they make it hard for kids to go back to school. And they seem to linger for a long, long time. So if your child is struggling with a chronic cough that won't go away or comes back after every little cold or congestion, this video is for you. Oftentimes, we look for a more natural way to kick the cough. Humidifiers, nebulizers, extra pillows on the bed for drainage, you name it. But far too often, we are recommended a suppressant or an antibiotic if it settles in long term or if it settles in long enough. In this video, we will talk about what we can do instead of the medications and the treatments, kicking it out before it becomes chronic and ever returning. An all too common story Bryce's mom shared with us. Her immune system felt very weak from very early on. She seemed to pick up any and every cold and virus out there. Many of you can relate to this. And they experienced chronic ear infections again and again. With every cold, she would experience a cough that lingered 2 to 3 weeks. And it felt like we were only getting one healthy week per month, mom would say. Like so many children, Bryce struggled with many things that led to her constantly having a chronic cough. In addition to the chronic ear infections, she really struggled with sleep also. And mom says she can count on one hand how many times she actually slept through the night those first few years. Moms and dads, if you can relate to this, I feel for you. And she knew how much that weakened her body and contributed to her being sick all the time. So as a pediatric chiropractor, I see lots of kids struggling with coughs. And looking at coughs specifically through a different lens has been the key to tackling the orientation and progression of it to kick it out for good. Chiropractic looks to help kids with chronic cough by focusing on these 3 main elements of subluxation and avoiding medication if at all possible. Number 1, subluxation, especially of the upper cervical and thoracic regions. This leads to increased tension and fixation, preventing the ears, the throat, and the lymphatics and the lungs from draining and plumbing properly and getting mucus and congestion out of those areas. Number 2, subluxation also alters the neuroimmune function, leaving it in a more sympathetic dominant state, which creates increased mucus production and inflammation. And number 3, these subluxations are most commonly caused by abnormal in utero positioning. Think of like a breech baby. My son was a breech child. Or birth intervention and trauma, such as C-section, such as forceps, such as induction or a vacuum extraction. My daughter was a vacuum extraction. I know this as well as anybody. Childhood falls can cause it too, or too much time in car seats and baby carriers can also cause some of this stuff. So no matter what you add in naturally, the physical stress on the system isn't letting it work as well as it should. Chiropractic care seeks to help a child avoid these medications and thus prevent long-term immune system suppression and weakening that can increase the risks of asthma, of allergies, autoimmune conditions later on in life. So this is why so many parents are turning to drug-free options like pediatric chiropractic care, which addresses the root cause of chronic cough and other immune conditions. This first thing that needs to be done to find out if chiropractic care can help your child is a consultation and then a neurological examination, where we will detect the presence of subluxation and neuromuscular tension. And so often it's found that things like the birth trauma, things like reflux and even constipation have not been fully taken care of at a young age. We're checking their eyes, ears, nose, and throat, but nobody's checking their nervous system. And that's where pediatric chiropractors come in. Yet as a child grows, this subluxation and chronic tension contribute to other conditions like the chronic cough that we're talking about in this scenario. The neurological examination, in our office we call it an insight scanner. Our training and our experience let us know exactly where to look most closely. Is it in the upper cervical and upper thoracic regions, since those are the most closely related to the function of the vagus nerve, of the phrenic nerve, and the neuromuscular dynamics of the respiratory system, or is it somewhere else? All of these systems can affect a child's ability to kick the cough out for good. So if you're concerned this may be the case with your child, schedule a consultation and exam with our office right away.